What is going on, everybody? We're here. We're live on RK Outpost Live for the August supporters stream. That's right, on the last Sunday of every month. And honestly, this one creeped up on me because it's only like the 24th or the 25th. What is it today? It's the 25th, so it feels like we're still quite away from September, but it is the last Sunday of the month. So here we are with some of the people that support me over, whether it's through top tier channel memberships, whether it's through top tier Patreon contributions or over on locals, things like that. And instead of just getting to hear me spew the same stuff about the same stuff you've heard a million times, you get a little bit of a panel aspect to it. You get other people's opinion as well. And that's why I do these streams, to hopefully help them grow their channels or whatever they're doing, or to just have a great conversation with them. But before we start, let me say hi to some of the people in the chat. I see Saratano. I see green-haired anti-liberal, Raptors, Lord Thoth, the destroyer to all trolls, Guts the Black Swordsman, Super Mayor EO. Who else is here? Biggles Metz is in the chat. Mysterious Man, Jens, Settery, Cody Clone, Everscale, United Spacers Alliance, Cheyenne Dingus, Dana White. The great Dana White has graced us with his presence. Thank you, Dana. I know you're a busy man. UFC, all that good stuff. So I appreciate that you're able to come by here. Thank you. I appreciate that. But that's enough of me. Let's introduce some of these guests so we can talk about, well, really, the biggest news of the week, as everyone knows, the Acolyte being canceled. But I'm sure we'll get into that in a little bit. Gabriel Knight is here with us. What's up, Gabriel?
Not a whole lot. Almost didn't make the stream because I've been on the road all morning, but I realized, oh, shit, they're going to be talking about the Acolyte, so I had to get on. So I'm ready to spike the football and drink some Acolyte Shield tears.
There's plenty to go around. There's plenty to go around of that. Like, thanks for being here, man. And for the first time in a little while, I think, Mester J has graced us with his presence from across the pond. What's up, Mester J?
Howdy. I was only gone once, Ryan. I mean, sometimes I need a break on a Sabbath, not working, not doing anything. And I almost forgot it this time too, because I've been playing World of Warcraft incessantly for the past 4 days, and suddenly just popped up on my phone. Remember the member stream? Was like, oh wait, oh. So almost forgot it this time. But last time, I wanted to sit here and just enjoy the stream, and I did.
Listen, on the seventh day, God rests.
That's it.
But on the seventh day, he asked for backup, right? So that's my streaming day.
Yeah. So you're a little bit of his right hand man when it comes to popular,
I would say maybe on the left. There's somebody else I think is his right hand guy, but
yeah,
the left. That's fine with me.
That's fine. Yeah.
But yes, good to have you back, Mester J. John Getz joining us once again, fresh off of a workout. What's up, John?
Feeling good. I was actually indulging in some Star Wars, some old school Star Wars, that Clone Wars game, which from the movie tie-in, which was actually pretty fun. And then getting into Jedi Starfighter, which put me on full tilt, and I had to quit towards the end after the stupid NPCs wouldn't listen to what I was saying last night.
I actually was, it's probably a while, maybe 2 months ago or something, I was playing some Jedi Starfighter for a couple hours and just kind of got lost in it. But yeah.
It's a good game. Yeah.
So the Clone Wars game, that's the one that came out to a company like when the movie release. Is that the one?
Yeah. So weirdly enough, they called it Clone Wars instead of Attack of the Clones. But yeah, it like starts off on Geonosis, and it's kind of like, I think it might be the same developer, or had some of the same developers as the Battlefront games, because it actually involves a lot of like vehicle combat and everything, and then you do a little bit of the Jedi stuff whenever you go on foot, but it's mostly like in tanks and walkers and stuff. And it has this the big plot is like Dooku's trying to construct this thing that I think is from the old Sith era, and it like absorbs a bunch of force energy and then will wipe out other life in an area. So that's like the final boss and everything. It's a pretty cool little story.
There you go. Very cool. Also joining us, we've got Grandmaster Chris. What's up, Chris?
Hi, guys. I was debating on whether or not coming onto the show or not, but I gotta tell you guys, I'm not sure if you noticed this or not, but by shitting on the Acolyte, you do realize that we're making sure that we can't get more Star Wars new content? Do you realize that, guys?
Good.
I thought we were ensuring that there was more. I'm confused now.
Yeah, it's always it's very interesting, right? Either you should just not talk about something ever because you're helping it. You're just helping. You're giving it free publicity. Or now we're in the state where we are. You know, it's always an interesting, depending on which way everyone wants to argue at any given moment. But
I am excited to join this stream and celebrate all the Acolyte, all the 5s and 10s of people who watch the Acolyte cry and bitch and moan. Now you guys know how we feel when the EU was decanonized in 2014. Now you'll never get the follow-up.
Yeah, except not to say it was all great, but it was certainly better quality than what they're putting out now.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
And also joining us, we've got from United Spacers Alliance, we've got the Crusader, we've got Tim. What's up, man?
What's going on? Yeah, just impromptu earlier. I said, you know what? I'm going to go live, and we talked about comparing special editions and New Hope side-by-side scenes. Some account out there called Luke Skywalker had the video already there. So we just did that for about an hour and 20 minutes. And really, like, I'll take them all, even the Jabba thing, if we can get rid of Han and Greedo and then the Battle of Yavin, because I really enjoyed the technical achievement in the Battle of Yavin in 1976 when they made it. And the new stuff, it's like, yeah, okay, great. It doesn't look bad, but it was just totally unnecessary. So we went over that, and it was fun. We'll do ESB and the rest in the future. So yeah, kind of an impromptu stream.
Yeah, when it comes to a New Hope special edition, that one to me, I'm up. You're right. Greedo and Han, that sucks. Everything else is fine. It is off-putting to be watching the movie, and then all of a sudden you see a CGI land speeder with 3PO and a random creature, and you're like, that doesn't look like the rest of this movie.
Right, right.
But in terms of the actual scenes and what they add, I'm pretty okay with it.
We kind of laughed because the Ronto was in every single shot. It's like, guys, could you have used something else? But that Ronto, they just kind of went wild with it. Every single shot on the streets of Mos Eisley. So...
And we've also got Biggles Metz, who's always there, modding in the chat, putting out these links. What's up, Biggles?
Hello. Sorry I caused the entire stream to be late. I was signing up at the gym because I got fat and I didn't like it, so I've been working out, and now I'm officially signed up at the gym. So I can't wait to talk about the game that's breaking all these records, and it's based off Goku, or the other way around, something like that, but I'm pretty sure it's based off Goku. So, yeah. And then the best show got canceled. I'm so sad. I'm in mourning. You don't know how important that show was to me that I don't even know the name of it.
Hey, Biggles, are you talking about Black Myth, the game that doesn't have enough representation and diversity, according to IGN?
Well, it's based off Goku, and Goku's a Saiyan, so I'm all for it.
That's I think you mean that Goku is based off that.
Oh, right. Is that what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Whatever, it's the same thing. In the Chinese version, his name is Sun Wukong, so I don't know the difference, you know?
Yeah, I don't know what's older, the 1980s manga or the 500-year-old story. It's a real toss-up. I don't know.
I think it's the 1980s manga, if my math is correct, which it's not. But yes, I believe it in my head. It's headcanon.
And last but not least, I don't know if we missed him last week or not. I don't remember, but he's back for more. It's Sir Reefer. What's up, man?
Reefer.
And he's gone.
He's gone.
He had too much of that reefer.
He may just stepped away.
Sleepy bye.
He popped in after we started, so he might not have known that he was next up.
Can you hear me?
The munchies.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is.
Stop simping for Chinese communist companies.
There it is. Listen, if the game was like full of Chinese communist propaganda or whatever, it'd be different. For me, is literally just a game, and I think that's what everybody wants. And ultimately, it's sad that one of the only companies that can produce something like that ends up being a Chinese developer. But
something is wrong with us.
Something wrong. Yeah.
All the political stuff aside, everybody should encourage us out of China, because China normally makes these like mobile gacha kind of games that are like, oh my gosh, I need to spend $5 million to make the timers go down faster. And this is like single player. You buy the game, you get the full game, no microtransactions or any of that shit. It's just like Stellar Blade. I would encourage that just because of the design of it, aside from all the political stuff, which of course I also agree with. But
now
I get it.
Go ahead.
I get it. But Me personally, I can't. I'll probably pirate it. Oh shit.
Yeah, that's good. I was just gonna say it doesn't really matter to you because that's what you do to every single game anyway.
AAA.
Yeah. What I find funny, I guess, is when it does come to Black Myth Wukong, what I find really funny are the people that are, because obviously massive player base. I saw it peak at maybe 2.4 million on Steam. I think they've had 300 or 3 million concurrently, according to the company, across all platforms at one time. Over 10 million games sold. People are like, well, yeah, but I bet a big chunk of that is Chinese. Do you have any idea what all of these different companies try to do to make sure their games can get released in Japan? Same thing with movies and everything like that. Everybody wants access to that player base. So it's weird that people are now saying, well, China's got a big player base. That's why this has a lot of games sold.
So here's the thing about that. With China, they are like children, which is going to be your largest player base, regardless of whatever you want to say. It's going to be children, right? Because adults have less time to play. It's going to be kids, usually teenagers, and then early 20s. Most of those people in China are limited on how long they can play each day. Your concurrent player count, once you hit certain times of the day in China, it's pretty much all Western nations and Japan.
I thought that limit
Especially
was
if you're
just
seeing it
on
Steam.
I thought the limit was just on online or those types of games or something. Because they sell consoles which can be disconnected from the internet in China. I know PS5s were selling out because of this.
Yes. However, they are trying, much like Japan, they're in a fertility crisis. Right? Because of the one-child policy for so long. Nobody's having kids. And these younger people, much like the rest of the world, don't know how to talk to each other.
Hey, man, if a girl wanted to play Black Myth Wukong with me, I would marry her right there,
Well,
That's a winner.
Yeah,
you heard it there, chat. The three women that are in the chat.
John, I thought playing video games was considered unattractive by women. What are you saying? That's bullshit.
Only ugly women who are lame, anyways.
Yeah, got a point. I mean, at this point, with how big of a market video games are, there's gonna be a fair amount of women doing this shit, and just due to sample size, you're gonna find good-looking ones.
Just due to sample size. Yeah, I like the whole thing that was going around the other day. Obviously, that chart was fake, right? That wasn't a real chart. That wasn't a real study. It was a troll thing that somebody did. But obviously, it started a conversation. There are women that do think that they don't want somebody to play his video games. I think most of them have no experience with video games, and they're not interested in video games. And they probably view video games as something that could be a massive time suck, that their significant other just spends all their time doing that instead of with them. And so that's kind of one of the things I try to push was for people that don't understand it, it may feel like that to them in the same way that for a lot of guys, they probably don't want a woman who's just constantly watching really retarded reality TV shit. Like if that's all they want to fucking do, or scroll Instagram or whatever, instead of like spend time with you. So it's stupid because these people don't understand really what gaming is to some people. But I do understand why some women wouldn't want somebody sucked into something they have no interest in.
I just find it funny how that chart tried to pretend or like make people believe that playing video games is less attractive than taxidermy.
Yeah,
Taxidermy.
Literally stuffing dead bodies and keeping them around. That is weird.
Yeah, I'm just gonna skin this animal and make a rug out of him.
Hey, have you ever walked on a bearskin rug in bare feet?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I
Well,
have.
the rug
like
is
with
different.
You mean with like your shoes and socks off, or actually, in addition to skinning the bear, wear their feet?
No, with my shoes and socks off, like
Okay.
in my house.
Making sure.
Yeah,
I wear the
no,
bare
we're-
feet.
We're not that hillbilly out here.
Yeah, I see Nerdy Neo. Ironic how many people crap on gaming yet watch 6 hours of pointless TV a day. Yeah, it's just,
So here's the
I
thing: it's just like
know.
any other hobby. There's a line where you get into it too much.
Everything in moderation.
Exactly. It's yeah.
I think that, and I think a lot of the most popular games kind of make for, I don't know, sort of a mindless. There's so many games that have awesome stories and are actually, because whenever I go visit, like my sister, she's married and her husband pretty much just plays like Call of Duty all the time. So she always says like, you know, she never does that. But then whenever I go to visit them, I'll bring like Until Dawn or something, and she's into horror movies. So she likes playing through like narrative games where you're making choices, and you know, it's like got more of a, it's more fun to watch and more fun for casual people to play, I think. And I think like a lot of women, if they have like some shit boyfriend who just like played Call of Duty for 12 hours a day or something, sure, you're gonna have a negative perception of games. But they can certainly be a lot more entertaining for everybody, not even just the person playing, if you play good types for that.
I know.
Yeah, an example of that.
You're not going to get women to play Siege.
Yeah.
An example of that, I watched my son play KOTOR 1 and 2 because I didn't want to play it. And he's like, 7 years old at the time, and he was pretty good at it. So I got to see the story, right? And just kind of sit there, and it was like watching a movie, more or less. And yeah, we might have, on some of the decisions, might have gone over those, which direction should we go and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I get it. Like if you're on, your Call of Duty or whatever it is for 12 hours a day, when you don't have a job and hey, your unemployment runs out in 6 months, are you going to start applying to stuff? Then I totally get that perception. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
An example there.
I recently
go for it, Chris.
I recently took a trip to Orlando earlier this month, and I got to hang out with a bunch of family members. And the younger boys that I was hanging out with, they brought their Xbox with them to this, and we were like in this big mansion house, like that people who like do tourism stuff in Orlando like hang out in. And
you're doing like an Airbnb rental or some shit like that.
Airbnb, yes.
Yeah.
And all they did on that Xbox was just play Fortnite and Call of Duty.
Ugh.
And I was like trying to get them to play some old school Halo because I had the Master Chief collection, and I was playing with them, playing some co-op campaign, and all they did the entire time was just like, can we just play more Fortnite now? Can we play more Fortnite?
That reminds me of this guy online. His name's like Jeremy or something. All he ever fucking plays is Fortnite. And I'm constantly in his chat. Can you play something else?
I just want to point out, Apex Legends better than Titanfall.
Oh, you better watch your fucking mouth. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not even going to get into that.
That's not choosing between the plague and, I don't know, AIDS.
And salvation?
COVID.
No, shut up. I was going to say, if you want to strike a perfect balance between work and your hobbies, just work for 12 hours in a warehouse like I did, then play video games for 8 hours because you can't do anything when you get off work.
Sleep for 4.
Yup. Wake up, do it all over again.
I got to type 4 hours of sleep.
And then live on Mountain Dew like Boogie just to keep the energy.
It wasn't Mountain Dew. It was energy drinks and pre-workout.
Boogie definitely drinks Mountain Dew for the energy. I think that's why.
I hate being alive. I hate being alive.
Well, he has to keep his sperm count down,
He's the living embodiment of a sugar spike because he literally does like right after the Mountain Dew, he's like, and then you can just feel when it comes down. He's
It's for the abuse.
I think that whole Mountain Dew decreased sperm count thing is bullshit. First of all,
well, that's because you have like 10 kids and all you drink is Mountain Dew.
Well, like for a while, yeah, but I just think it's like bullshit. I don't think that's real. It's kind of like
there's things that impact
the fun
more
meme,
than the Mountain Dew.
The fun meme.
Yeah, it's kind of like when people talk about what is it in diet and like zero sugar soda, the aspartame, the artificial sweetener.
Yeah,
people are like, oh, actually, that'll actually make you gain weight, or that's actually could be dangerous for this reason. It can be if you're drinking like a trash can full of it a day. Like that's the amount that you would need to get the levels of aspartame that would make it less easy to lose weight than consuming fucking sugar like that.
I switched to diet and zeros in the early 2000s, and within 60 days, I probably lost 15 pounds just from that. I mean, that tells me all I need to know.
It's a big fucking fallacy out there that's been pushed for a long time that, artificial sweeteners are actually worse. It makes it harder. It slows down this metabolism process. It's fucking bullshit. It would be true if you drank like a 36 pack or 48 cans of it a day.
Yeah.
Yes, you might get to those levels, but if you're like a normal human being and you do maybe 2 a day or something, it's nothing. There's none of those effects.
Well, I've been drinking these. I can't stand artificial sweeteners even, just for the taste mainly. But these yerba mate things, which is like just a tea that they can, get your caffeine, because I don't drink coffee. And they're like 20 calories or something. It's almost like no sugar, almost no I don't think it's like any artificial sweeteners. It's good stuff. But you just sip on that.
Yeah. I got Mountain Dew Zero. Me and Boogie are the same, right? Mountain Dew Zero right in the fridge.
You and JD Vance.
The difference is I do usually one a day. I do one of those and then some water.
You guys ever heard of the root beer, the soda company Frost Top?
What is that?
They're based out of Ohio. They've been making root beer since like the 20s, right? But you can, if you can get it, for like $2.30 for a bottle, and it's 32-ounce bottles. But it's some of the best root beer you'll ever taste. And then they have Kansas City Sarsaparilla. They have a whole bunch of good soda flavors. That's a great way to put sugar into your body. You
said Frost Top?
Yeah, FORSTOP.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
They're based out of Ohio.
I'm in PA. I'm Western PA, so I should be able to get them to me real quick.
I feel like I never drink root beer, and then I'll drink it once every 6 months because it'll randomly be offered somewhere. I'm like, pretty good. Why don't I drink that more? And then I never drink it again.
I'm like that with cream soda, yeah.
They have a vanilla caramel cream soda that tastes like fucking Bailey's Irish cream, but soda. Nice. It would be the perfect mixer with Guinness.
I would prefer the Baileys then.
The only time I drink it is usually when I go to Red Robin and I get a root beer float. That's pretty much it.
We still got some A&W, so I'll indulge in that whenever I'm there. And then a hamburger with mustard on it too. So.
Oh yeah,
A&Ws are good. The restaurant, it's fucking good, dude.
Mm-hmm. The one local chain around here is just called American Natural. They got great breakfast stuff, which is normally what I get. They're like one of those gas stations where you can order food and stuff. And they have a Pepsi float that they do with ice cream. Oh my God, it's so good. They have a local ice cream that they throw a scoop on top there. It's
nice.
When I used to go to Dairy Queen, back when I was in high school and stuff, I used to get Mountain Dew floats there.
Nice.
Holy shit, it's good. Trust me.
I know. I worked at Arctic Circle when I was in high school. And I would make Mountain Dew floats with the ice cream and shit and throw whatever shake toppings on it I wanted. Because we were allowed drinks, so I would just throw ice cream in there.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
It's delicious.
Obviously, the biggest news of the week in entertainment and Star Wars has been the cancellation of the Acolyte.
Which took the entire world by surprise. Nobody saw this coming. I'm just saying it. Nobody saw this coming 2 years ago, at the first interview with this woman, with her, yes. Nobody ever thought this is going to get cancelled really quick. Nope. We were all shocked and surprised.
I was not surprised that it was a failure, obviously.
Nope.
But I still did put the odds at around 50-50 whether it got another season or not. Not because it was actually good or because it made money for them or because it was a success, but just because that's more of what they wanted to put out. I was kind of 50-50.
Well, what's funny about that, 4 hours before the announcement, I put a video out. I was off last Monday, and I'm like, let me just give my thoughts here, because I was with you, and I didn't even know you had that thought at the time. I'm like, I can see them renewing this motherfucker just because they're going to lean into this, right? And then, I'm outside messing around and look at X, and I'm like, oh, shit, it's canceled. Time to make a follow-up video, well, the decision's been made, guys. Maybe they saw my video, but yeah, I definitely could have seen them renewing it just to lean into this stuff and then just live us out. And at the end of the day, all they got to do is wait until we're gone. And then all these new people that are clamoring for this online that, quite honestly, are they really watching the show? Or do they have it playing in the background? And then, oh, look, lightsabers, let me watch that scene. Stuff like that. All they got to do is live us out and then wait until the the new fans take over, and they're the predominant ones that are out there that call themselves Star Wars fans. I could see that happening, but I think they made the decision that they did because, honestly, business-wise, how could you continue that failure of a show when you look at the views and lack of views?
What was it, $180 million? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to
Yeah.
cut the budget like to, I don't know, about half, I'm guessing,
I mean,
to even begin to make it viable.
I didn't watch
And
that
a
show.
third
but
of the views of something like Cobra Kai, right?
Yeah.
A third of the watch hours, or
What's
whatever
the
they
hell
call
was-
it, the minutes.
why did it cost $180 million? I mean, what are they? It's not like it was special effects heavy. Like,
It looked
Money
cheap. There
laundering.
weren't a whole lot of big
Right.
stars. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
What are you talking about? Anastasia turning into that fart cloud it looked amazing. Great visual effects. But going back to what Ryan was saying on whether or not we thought this would get canceled, I too was 50-50 because realistically, this show should never have been greenlit. It was a bad idea from the start. But then again, there are a lot of bad shows that do get renewed. Star Trek Discovery, 5 seasons, which is 4 more than Firefly.
okay.
So it's just
And no one
they-
was watching that.
I'm amazed that just finished this year. I mean, I'm plugged into all the toxic right-wing grifters, and all that. And I legit thought that show was canceled like 2 or 3 years ago. It's like,
Yeah, people
Still
stopped talking
alive.
about it after season 3, and somehow it
Yes.
still went for 2 more seasons. To what Tim talked about, where hey, wait out like our side of the fan base or whatever. My argument about this show is they obviously made the show for their modern audience, for the audience that they've wanted to appeal to, younger demographic. They care about identity politics and representation and diversity. That's like the most important thing to them ahead of an actual story, right? They want these people that look like them and sound like them and fuck like them or whatever, so that they can so that they can make their own story with these characters. That's really what they're doing. I think that they showed up. I think they showed up each and every week. I think they watched this. I think they supported it. I think they tweeted about it. I think that this was their show and they showed up. But that exposed the reality that we've known for a long time, and that some of these entertainment companies are finally figuring out that if those are the only people that are going to watch your shit, it's not going to be enough to make it successful. If that group shows up, they are too small, they are too insignificant, and they don't have enough, whether it's buying power or whatever. Like there's not enough of them if that's your core demographic to make something successful.
I said something to that effect on Twitter, and I think I touched a bit of a nerve with some of the shills because I basically said it was never about them having their space to watch this thing in peace and quotations, not be harassed. It's always they always wanted everybody else to watch it and pretend to enjoy it and celebrate it with them. I mean, and they're trying to cope and say, the chuds with their review bombing is why the show failed. I mean, no, it's not why. It's just this shit does not make money, and they just totally outside of reality. They thought that this show had high ratings. That's just, and then you show them like a variety article saying no, that had shit ratings, and they say, oh, you're lying or that's fake news.
Yeah.
It's just, they're just totally untethered to reality.
Which is funny when they say that chuds like us made the show fail when just a few
Chuds.
years ago they said we had no power.
Exactly. Which is it?
What is it? And I love one of the copes of the show getting canceled is everyone's now saying, oh, we'll never know who the guy was in the cave. We all know.
Well, I like-
I think most of those are troll posts.
Yeah, I like the joke one that's like, we'll never find out who this is, and it shows the back of Yoda's head.
It's Grogu.
Oh, yeah, it's Grogu's dad, maybe. Who knows? Fan theories.
But I think if you go back to the 90s, there were a lot more hardcore Star Wars fans than there are of this Acolyte type stuff. But I don't think there were that many. But what George and Lucasfilm at the time were able to do is make content, right, that appeals to the masses and doesn't turn off the hardcore fans. And that's what Disney Lucasfilm has not been able to do. They could have made a show, something like The Acolyte, that didn't turn off the masses. I probably still wouldn't have liked it, but at the same time, the masses might have, right? And then also keep in the people that are into all the DEI stuff. You don't have to have that stuff to appeal to them. But for whatever reason, I'm going to say around the time of Riva, May 2022, they leaned into this stuff and just said, fuck it, we're doing this. And they haven't turned back since. Is this indicative of them turning back? I don't think we know yet. I think that the Rey movie is still going to go forward, right? We haven't heard that being canceled. So we'll see where it goes from here. But having that Charmin Obaid Chinoy, she's just as divisive of a character as Leslie Headland is. So we'll see what happens, where they go from now. Let's see what's in Skeleton Crew and all this other stuff. I think this isn't worthy of an Ewok celebration. This is more like raising your glass in the Mos Eisley Cantina celebration. We'll see what happens over the next year before we really dance around their grave. So
This is not some move to appeal to our side. That's not what this is. And the weirdos can cope as much as they want about thinking that they're pandering to our side of the fandom. They haven't pandered to our side of the fandom in quite some time. That's not what they're doing. They would have loved nothing more than for this show to be a success so they could give it 5 more seasons. They would have loved nothing more for this to be the highest rated Disney Plus show ever so that they can stick it to us and say, we told you we don't need you. This is a decision that's based on viewership. That's it.
And like I said on one of Gary's posts on X, is the battle is won. The war is a long way to go. Long way.
Well, and I always say, like, the bad writing and quality is the symptoms that are the result of what is sometimes the bad policies that Ryan and other people point out. So you're not always going to have a shit show just because you have bad hiring practices. And sometimes you can push certain themes and you can still have a good show or a highly rated show, but it's going to make your chance of success a lot less whenever you're not hiring based on merit. That's always going to be like the reason that these symptoms crop up of the bad writing, of all this other stuff that turns people off.
Yeah, a big reason why DEI is such a problem so much of the time is because it limits what writers are able to do. You know, we can't have Doctor Strange show up in WandaVision to help Wanda through her problems because that would be the white man saving the woman, and we can't allow that.
Takes your focus off, It's like you're thinking about other things that don't, like, you should just be focusing on the story.
And the thing is, whenever these shows come out, the thing we always point out first and foremost is the bad writing. The politics usually come in when we then try to figure out why these creative decisions were made. You know, why did Luke throw his lightsaber over his shoulder, and why was he not allowed to train Rey? Well, once again, man training woman, we can't allow that.
I always say this with, like, whenever people are pointing out in Lord of the Rings, they're like, oh, see, it's, no man, you look upon a woman, see, that they would hate that. I'm like, no, they wouldn't hate that, because what the modern day equivalent of that would be is Éomer tries to take on the Witch King, is about to die, and Éowyn steps in and saves him, and then looks to him and goes like, still think a woman can't fight, or something, and then he, like, trips over his sword and stabs himself or something. Like,
people who constantly throw out that excuse have no idea what the context of that scene is. The context of that scene is Éowyn is trying to protect her uncle, who is on the verge of death after being crushed by his horse.
And they present it realistically. She doesn't, like, overpower him. She's flailing and dodging and, like, very much like OP.
When the Witch King, like, pulls out his ball and chain thing, she looks terrified. Oh,
I mean, in the end, she only wins because of Mary, right? He stabs him in the back.
Mary's blade.
Takes away the Witch King's concentration, and she can stab him. And Tolkien could write a real strong woman 1,000,000 times better than anybody today, because these women were strong. I'm not talking about physically strong; they were mentally strong. They were far stronger than anything we see that, boss women or what a man can do, we women can do just as good, blah, 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 blah bullshit today. And they hate it. Look at the new Tolkien show that comes out. I'm already...
Rings of Power, Galadriel.
This show is going to fail. This show is going to fail because, again, they cannot help themselves putting in a pointless, useless, no-name woman that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about her. But they just have to, because they keep pushing. it's like if you throw enough shit on the wall, it's going to stick at some point. But their shit is not going to stick. It keeps falling down, and they keep trying, and they keep failing and failing and failing. And I can't, for the love of me, understand how their investors can keep putting money into the shit without saying, maybe we should try something different. You know?
Let's take the epitome of femininity in Galadriel and cast like the most mid 5'4", 100-pound soaking wet Morphed Clark with the face of a mouse and cast
the strongest
her as
being.
Galadriel.
She's basically the strongest being in Middle Earth, and let's just make her retarded. Wow.
Good.
Yeah, it's more about shifting the role, right? And even if they didn't hire the most beautiful person or whatever, it's about like the role that she plays and like the more masculine energy that they're going for, instead of just letting women be women, letting men be men, and continuously trying to force this idea of, oh, let's reverse these gender roles for this or that. That'll be cool. That'll be stunning. That'll be brave. But what's up? We got our Chud here, Star Wars Marvel purist.
Chuds, constantly
purist?
humiliating, uneducated Disney shills. That's us.
Amen.
What's going on,
How's it
guys?
going, man? I saw you didn't know the stream was today, so you're a little late.
Yeah, I don't think it's where the end of the month's falling like the following. What is it, on Saturday? So I didn't know how that worked. So I was like, oh shit, I better jump on.
One of those weird ones for sure. But good to have you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Real quick before we get back to some Acolyte stuff, Ministry of Wrong thing for 10. I hope these idiots trolled Disney into renewing the Acolyte, like when Sony was memed into putting Morbius back in theaters just to fill more. If we hate Disney, why wouldn't we want that for them? Would be funny.
We probably should have trolled Disney into renewing the Acolyte and making it a big success. That way, Kathleen Kennedy would have gotten the big win that would have convinced her to leave.
That would be great coordinated trolling, like during members only streams or something. Gary and Ryan and everybody coordinates like, guys, we have to praise the shit out of this.
No shit. This is what all these people think that we do. Like, like that's their perception of us, right? Is that we're sitting there mobilizing our audience, plotting all these things behind closed doors and all this shit.
The way the Simpsons think about the Republicans.
us.
The way the Simpsons portray the Republicans in their show, that's what people think that we do.
Buford got nothing to say except dropping $50 and then walking away. Thank you, Buford T. Justice. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Like a gangster, he puts his money down the table and walks away.
That's right.
Walks out of there.
But there is something I think to be said about some of the people that are upset about the cancellation of the Acolyte and some of the points that they're making. I think actually some of the things they're saying they're right about, but they're coming to it from like they're coming to the right conclusion for the complete wrong reasons. And one of the things that's out there with all the media trying to desperately say that this shouldn't have been canceled, one of the things they're saying is, hey, I get like we're never going to get any other like story from Star Wars that's not set in this little time frame with all these characters featuring cameos from this, and this. I actually think that is a good point. That Lucasfilm has not like ever gone. This is one of the first times they've gone outside of that to try to do something. It was a massive catastrophic failure. To me, although I despise Disney Star Wars clearly, and I think the entire thing never should have happened, and in a perfect world, I'd love to just have it completely and totally erased and start from scratch again in 2012. But looking at it from a realistic perspective, as someone who acknowledges and understands they're not going to retcon the sequel trilogy, not going to do anything like that. For them to have long-term success, the thing that they need to do is get away from this era, from this Mandoverse time period, from right between the prequels and the OT time period. Go fucking 1,000 years in the future, in the Star Wars world, in the Star Wars galaxy, and start telling new stories and creating new characters and things like that. I think they're hesitant to do it because they know they can't rely on the nostalgia, but inevitably I think that's what they have to do in order to start actually building, Star Wars and the fan base up again into something and have free range to tell stories. And the cancellation of the Acolyte, them having a big failure while stepping outside of that, it may prevent them from doing things like that in the future.
I think their biggest problem, though, is they're trying to separate themselves too much from Star Wars. Because if you look at Acolyte, right, the music has absolutely nothing to do with like Star Wars music. There's no score. There's nothing like
What are you talking about? That
themselves
Billie
too
Eilish
much.
song fit in perfectly.
Yeah, right. Well, because we've been covering SOTOR and how they did that universe so great. Like, I mean, I've so far just kind of let the audience gone over. We've just looked at the cinematics and we looked at the lore building just from the timeline stuff, like with the Jedi Master Nostral and whatnot. And we've been kind of breaking all that down. And then we also looked at the cost, because back then everyone was saying it was $1 million a minute or, you know, whatever it was. And we kind of looked at like some new and like animating places and whatnot and said, hey, let's highball it at that $1 million, and then let's look at what it probably really costs, because, you know, like when I bought my 3D TV, you know, like 10-12 years ago, it was state of the art. It was like $4,000. Well, now for like $600 or $600, I can get a TV that's 10 times better. That's the way technology generally works. So animating stuff shouldn't be becoming more and more expensive. It should actually be getting more cost effective. But putting all that aside, whatever, we figured out you could do for the amount of the Acolyte, like a 2.5 hour freaking movie in like SOTOR cinematics that are probably obviously, 100 times better in the real world today based off that cost. So been doing stuff like that. But even like the soundtrack, you look at the soundtrack, they integrate like John Williams-esque music, but they put their own flavor on it, you know, and they had like Grisky and Hab, like, and then Jeremy Sewell with the original KOTOR games.
Well, just like with the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack, Justin.
What's that?
Shadows of the Empire soundtrack that they did.
Oh yeah.
Very Star Wars-esque.
Yep.
And if you guys remember, in the Revenge of the Sith video game, they actually reuse some of the soundtracks from the KOTOR 2, but they integrate it so well with the John Williams soundtrack that at first I didn't even realize it wasn't John Williams, because it fits in so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Knights of the Old Republic, and specifically, like even going forward to Star Wars, The Old Republic MMO, those soundtracks are fantastic. Yep. They are obviously inspired by John Williams' Star Wars scores, but it feels like you're in the universe. It really does. And even just the like title screen, everybody, when you start going into SWTOR, it's like bum, 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 bum. You know what I mean? Like, and getting into that shit, it does feel like you're dun 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 dun. Whatever that intro or that starting screen sound is for SWTOR, you gotta love it.
Clash of Destiny, yeah.
Clash of Destiny.
The old Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast games, perfect.
Yep.
Purist, to your point about the animated stuff, I know they just announced at Gamescom they're doing a bunch of video game stories. I forget what the series is called. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon, but they're going to do like a God of War story, a Sifu story, I forget, it was like 8 or 10 different games. I got to find out what the hell it was called now, but it's all going to be like animated, and it basically looks like the old World of Warcraft, like those really cool detailed cinematics that they would release before like a new expansion or something. They'd show the CG trailers. And so I'm guarantee you that's cheaper than $1 million a minute or whatever it was. So they're already taking advantage. Secret level, yes.
It's just common sense that, you know, as technology evolves, it gets cheaper and whatnot. And I remember, Ryan, you saying a while back, like, you would animate like NJO or something like that, right? Instead of actually doing live action on it, it'd probably be a good idea to animate it. Can you imagine if you got like those kind of cinematic, like quality stuff and animation? Because you don't have to do the Dave Filoni type of animation. Obviously, we all love Tartakovsky and whatnot, but with the technology they have now to be able to do that, that would be awesome. But they've also disavowed the EU. So that's the problem. They separated themselves from the built universe. Now they're separating themselves from the music and just, you know, everything that has to do with Star Wars, the themes.
Well, that goes back to Ryan's point in this segment, that they need to do something different. And they, quote unquote, did try something different, but it failed. And they couldn't see it coming 100 miles away, right? So they're going to try something stupid again. And they're kind of caught in a loop here, when they really need to try something completely different and not garbage like the Acolyte. 1,000 years in the future, no identity politics. Hey, it has certain themes and features of the Star Wars universe, music, maybe blasters, lightsabers, stuff like that, but it is totally different. But, oh no, we can't do that because we did try something different. That fallacy right there, that fallacious logic is going to prevent them from succeeding because they're not going to try something different and good at the same time.
Well,
it's pretty sad.
Tim, one of the reasons why the Acolyte failed is because they're making a lot of the same mistakes they've already made while under the tutelage of Disney Star Wars, and one of them is adhering to the disgusting like Twilight fan fiction romance, like Chimere and Osha just feels like the second coming of Raylo. And it's not just Star Wars. Look at Rings of Power. They tried to ship Galadriel with Sauron.
This is women, right? This is when women start. And I'm not saying that as a troll too much. I'm being like legitimately serious. When you have women and female perspectives and what they want to see in storytelling start invading these worlds that were created by men, that's something that they're legitimately interested in. The whole enemies to lovers type of twist and these type of shipping things or whatever. This is something that women like to do in a lot of their content.
It's 30 Shades of Grey.
It works for Twilight, right? It works for Twilight because that was written for. It was written for mostly young women were the audience. Okay,
it's a female fantasy. You know, turning the bad guy, the rogue man into, you know, he's my husband now, and
I can fix him.
Blah blah blah. I can fix him.
It's
a female sexual fantasy, and they put it into things where they don't belong, and where women, these women at least, do not belong. They just don't.
Is, if you have good writers, you can make a great romance story in a great action and everything. You know, one of my favorite games in the last few years is Final Fantasy 16. It has a great love story. Now it's like a 70-hour game, so obviously you have a lot more time for everything, but most of the game is not about that, but it does have a great main love interest, and she's a fully fleshed out character and everything, and it's a beautiful story, but it's woven into a larger narrative that is more about kingdoms and, you know, giant monsters and everything, and gods and all this stuff, and it's like one aspect that's very well done in the writing. And so you can feed both sides. It's not like just don't do it shitty like that, where I think that was a desperate last gasp because they saw the ratings. They knew that their show was probably going to kill. So they're like, oh, some people like this. Let's push it and try to get some type of audience here. And I think that's usually what it is it's like desperately trying to cling to something.
And that's the best writers, the best female writers when it comes to fantasy or you know, adventure, science fiction, are the women that like the same thing that we do, we as men. These are the best writers that take the thing that they know men like and that they like themselves, and then they create something new, right? Whether it's gaming, whether it's in books, movies, TV shows, there are a lot of them out there. But these women just don't get any jobs anymore because they don't have the right, you know, opinions.
Look at Naughty Dog. That was headed by a woman for a long time, and then the man forced her out, and now that company is in the toilet.
Yeah. And he made one of the worst fucking relationships in gaming. I did not give a shit. If that lady had died right at the beginning of the game, I would not have cared. All I know is that they both like to smoke weed. That's pretty much the extent of their relationship together in Last of Us 2.
And the funny thing is, if you look at the trailers for Last of Us 2, they make you think it's her who dies.
That would have been a much better story.
And they did the whole bait and switch where you think Joel's going to help Ellie along, and then it's actually Jesse.
Yeah.
Just blatant false advertising.
Well, and thinking on it afterwards, like my whole the quickest fix I can think of for Last of Us 2 would be Dinah dies in the crossfire as someone's gunning for Joel at the beginning. You know, Ellie, keep the flashbacks and everything the same. Ellie kind of hates him because he sort of caused her girlfriend to die, and then you have them go on a journey where they're seeking the revenge, and they slowly have to kind of rebuild, learn to forgive, learn what the, you know, dynamics of all that is, and overcoming that sort of hurdle, and rebuilding the bridge of their relationship. It would be like a much more interesting journey, I would think, but that would be seen as fridging or whatever, so they can't do that, and so it limits you writing wise.
And you made a good point earlier, John, when you were talking about like love stories in the Final Fantasy games. A lot of the best stories, the romance bit of it is just a small part of a bigger story. You look at a lot of these newer stuff, and the romance is front and center. You look at the sequel trilogy, for example. It just feels like it's all about Rey and Kylo. And like the world building itself takes a back seat. We still don't know what the deal is with the Republic. We don't know where the First Order came from, but who cares? You're here for the relationships, are you not?
Yep. Well, and it
I
goes
thought
back to
romance was taboo in current movies today.
Oh yeah.
well, that's the thing. That's why a lot of them are badly done because
no. Wait a minute. Romance. If it's a gay romance, it's fine. But if it's a heterosexual romance, it's completely taboo. It's completely a relic to these people. It's like, okay, if it's a relic, then why are you still using it? Also, it's been used for years.
yeah.
Why? It's not broken. It's going to be fixed. Just keep doing what you do. You'll do just fine.
Well, and one of the reasons it works in a lot of games, including like the one I cited, was because they allow the female character to show weakness, lean on the guy, say that she needs him at various points. That's all like, no. You can't have her be weak at any point. No. You can't have her like be saved by him at any point. Like it cuts off so many potential paths to build a relationship that seems, it's built on sand because it's all superficial in these things. Whereas
that's exactly what they did in X-Men 97, right? Like, so Rogue does some badass shit, but she's also vulnerable. Spoiler alert: Gambit dies, but she cries and shit. And Nightcrawler, her stepbrother, whatever, adoptive brother, consoles her. She's not like, get the fuck away from me, I can handle this shit on my own. No, she like lets him like console her, and this and that. You have Storm being vulnerable throughout the show. So they actually did a very good job with that. And that like harkens back all the way to like Chris Claremont, right? I bring him up constantly because he wrote some of the most iconic women ever. He was on the book for 17 years. A lot of those X-Men characters were newly created female characters, but they weren't like females that were trying to be males. They were very feminine, but they also were badass. So that's the way that you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also from some of those shows, anime and books that I've actually read, you look at a lot of the women that are portrayed in those stories, they're all snarky, bad mouthed, and always bringing the guy down and all that shit. And then the guy turns around and falls in love with her. Like, what the fuck? That's what really gets me. Is like, basically they're just turning the women into men and men into women. It's completely reversed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but Purist, wouldn't it have been better if he had tried to console her and Rogue had just gone, "There's a tempest in me, sugar," or something like that? That would have been great.
You can do like enemies to lovers stories and stuff like that, but like with the Acolyte, the problem is the execution. Like the idea that Osha, being raised as a Jedi, or to try to become a Jedi, right? That was her goal. She left the Jedi Order, but she still like has those principles in mind. To see somebody come and just, one, knows that this is the person that's going around murdering Jedi, just straight up murdering them, assassinating them. Two, a Jedi that had like brought her into the Jedi Order, people that she knew, right? And then like just eviscerate all of her friends, get in these fights, snap Yord's neck right in front of her, all this shit. The idea that an hour or something after that, like she gets knocked out and comes to, and like an hour or two after that, you're already maybe having feelings for this person or something. It's insane. Like you can write a story that makes a lot more sense, that takes some time to develop something, and like maybe instead of just over the course of a 20-minute episode, you actually have some revelations maybe about those people, about the Jedi in general, about this person's actual backstory, some more context for maybe why he was doing some of the things he was doing, to actually make that work. You can't make it work the way that they did it here. It was inherently bad.
She saw his penis, and therefore she has feelings for him. It's just like in the sequel trilogy.
Hey, that happens in real life all the time.
Yeah, great messaging for young girls. Yeah.
It's just like in the sequel trilogy when Rey hates Kylo for killing Han Solo and says that he's a monster, but all it takes for her to like start having feelings for him is to see him shirtless. Like,
would you please put a towel on or something?
It's so fucking stupid.
That's what women think of women. Apparently, that's what they think. All they need is a hot dude, and they'll forget all the bad things. So. So.
And again, if the roles were reversed, people would be losing their minds.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I might, even if Sydney Sweeney killed a couple of my friends in front of me, if she was shirtless, I'd be like, well, she's not so
Yeah,
bad. I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay.
You make a good point.
Do you
Yeah.
think there's any merit to those rumors about her playing Black Cat in an upcoming Spider-Man?
I would go
that's a
see the
bullshit.
movie.
I think that's a bullshit rumor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but wait. If she does, what's the suit gonna look like?
Oh, they'll cover it up. Yeah.
I think that's a bullshit rumor.
Exactly.
But I have like sometimes bullshit rumors start conversations and then turn into fan castings. Like those are things that have happened. So we'll see. But I don't believe that rumor. But maybe like I could definitely see Marvel not even considering it at all, and then see it take off on social media and be like, hey, maybe we should consider doing this.
Hopefully
like,
she doesn't get Krasinski'd and like, oh, wow, the fans all really want this person. Let's bring him in for 2 seconds and kill him off.
It's actually very funny. I was thinking about this. Well, I really thought about it when I watched Deadpool and Wolverine, and after I've thought about it as well. But it's funny how different, just because the setting and the way that people feel about the movie and like the fact that it's kind of a parody and all these things, the way Chris Evans, Johnny Storm was treated in the movie, right? Where comes in, flame on, all this stuff, then immediately like falls out of the sky, hits himself in the nuts, gets chained up, and then just gets turned into like, just gets all his meat stripped off his bones and dies. If that had happened in any movie that wasn't Deadpool and Wolverine, we would have been like eviscerating it, right? For like how they treated the character. But because it happened in the right setting, in the right context, it's okay. Like, but that was so similar to what happened with John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness.
Not to mention, because of the multiverse aspect of it, it doesn't really matter because he'll just get replaced by a different Johnny Storm.
They'll get Michael B. Jordan back to do the actual extended one.
Oh, bro!
Oh
Can
my
you imagine
God,
that
movie's
they
terrible.
Could do shit like that. They could absolutely do stuff like that now, because he'll come in and everybody will think it's going to be Killmonger, right? And then all of a sudden, flame on.
What happened to all those little bumps on your body, Killmonger?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of multiverses and reboots in general. Like, you should be able to stick with the lore and continue it on. You shouldn't have to keep resetting shit over and over and over again. It just takes all the stakes away, makes it boring.
Well, but I think for cinematic franchises, however, like if you're writing, if you're doing comic books or books or things like this where the characters don't have to age, then yes, you can do it as long as you keep your writing straight. You don't need to do it. But when in these cinematic universes, there does come a point where all these actors have kind of aged out or just don't want to do this constant grind of all these different movies every year and this stuff. They want to do other things where
all the steroids.
You do have to wonder, how are we going to do this going forward? Because you still, as they've found out, you still need the characters that people actually recognize and that they care about, or people aren't going to be invested.
We're going to
James Bond, you just recast
until he's 90.
Yeah.
And I think Anthony Mackie said it best. Sometimes characters become bigger than the actors.
That's true.
I mean, that's the way it is pretty much across the board now.
And you got to be able to separate
Ryan Reynolds.
Because look at Mark Hamill, right? Like, you can't let that affect your perception of Luke Skywalker. All the shitheaded stuff that Mark Hamill does every single week.
That's why when I saw him say, "Go force yourself," I responded saying, "In a world filled with Mark Hamills, be like Luke Skywalker."
Yeah, and I don't know if we should be throwing tomatoes at him more for the dad joke or just for being an asshole there. I mean, which one?
It is a lame burn. Like,
yes.
Wow, you got
sad
us.
part is he's thought about it so much that he used it twice in the span of 2 days.
He probably forgot, Ryan. I mean, let's be honest here. So
I think he's like, I think that's a catchphrase that he likes, that he thinks is great. That's what I think.
He thought he had gold with that. He was like, all right, he's like doing his Joker laugh and everything as after he thinks about it.
Saying that at the DNC is one thing. I the fact that he's just using Star Wars to be politically relevant. That's all it is, right? Because that's the only time anyone cares that he's there. It's because it's Luke Skywalker. They're making Star Wars references and Jedi references, things like this. That's the only reason anyone cares that Mark Hamill's at the DNC. It's one thing to say that at a DNC event. The Fan Expo event was like the one that I thought was, that's pretty fucked up. You know, these are literally just people there. They're not there to hear about your politics. They're there because they're there because you're Luke Skywalker, and they want to hear you talk about that and maybe your experiences playing Joker and stuff, and to, talk to potentially half the audience and tell them to go fuck themselves. It's pretty messed up.
Imagine if you'd paid all that money, you're kind of like disconnected from the internet. You don't know how politically active he is. Like you paid $300-$400, whatever it was, for an autograph. And then you're like listening to his speech beforehand, and you have to hear that. You're just like, oh, well, I already paid the money though. So,
yeah, but do you think Hulk Hogan on his beer tour is going around pushing the politics and saying stuff about the other side? I highly doubt it. He is, because Hulk Hogan is one of the most politically savvy, and I don't mean politics political, but I mean with fans and stuff, that he knows how to attract as many fans as possible, right, without pissing them off. So I doubt on his Real American Beer Tour, where he's promoting it, that he's pissing people off by saying, oh, you're a Biden supporter and stuff like that. So be Hulk Hogan, don't be Mark Hamill.
That's why
imagine if Mark Hamill told everybody to go force himself in the Joker voice.
Yeah.
I mean, every day he's more like the Joker now than he is like Luke.
Right.
And at first, I was kind of sad seeing that clip when he said that, and a bunch of people in the audience started laughing. And then I realized it's Chicago, the hometown of CM Cook. So, of course, they're going to laugh along and agree with him.
Well, and also, we don't have any idea how much of that audience is laughing at the time. Like,
that's a laugh track.
40% of them could just be sitting there. And being like, it's a little uncomfortable.
I just think Mark Hamill, after 30 years of being basically Nerd Jesus, he just lost his sense of reality, and he's now just Nerd Judas,
He used to be known for being good to all the fans, and like he was kind of like a one-hit wonder, live action, starring wise. And
I can understand that hardcore Star Wars fans can be a little much, to say the least. And they have basically hunted him God knows how many times to get autographs and pictures and yada yada yada, and maybe it became too much for him. And I don't know what wrong in his head, but the Mark Hamill we have today is not the one we saw in the 80s or in the 90s or on the aughts.
Trump broke his brain.
And that's
I think it happened long before that.
And that's something a lot of actors need to just like come to grips with. Sometimes you're not going to have a big career. You're just going to be a one-hit wonder and be remembered for one thing. So you just got to embrace that one thing. That's what William Shatner did, and everyone loves him.
Well, and Hamill up until recently was like that. I remember it was season 1 or 2 of The Flash. He came back for The Trickster, which is basically the live-action version of his Joker voice that he played in the 90s Flash TV show. But he came back in the CW one, and I remember his son in the show was becoming like the new Trickster, and he was like, I am your father. He referenced Star Wars while doing the dialogue. So he was willing to play into it. And then there was like a convention video of him being Joker, telling Luke that he was his father and stuff. Like he was willing to play into it for a long time until the political stuff just like broke his brain. I don't know what happened. It was like 2015, 2016. Yeah, he cut it off.
TBS.
Yeah.
Why so serious?
I think that's the problem with franchises these days. All these actors who go into these franchises, they're going to be remembered for that. I mean, back then, franchises weren't really a thing. I mean, you just pick a movie and you just go with it, bad or good, but you're still going to be remembered. I mean, Tom Cruise may be doing Mission Impossible, but he's done a lot more stuff than just Mission Impossible. He's in Top Gun, but he also did other things, Interview with the Vampire, Eyes Wide Shut,
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
That was awful.
Yeah, but
Less said about that, the better.
Take somebody like Scott Bakula,
Mm-hmm.
He's done several franchises. He's known for being more than, Captain Archer of the Enterprise. So it is possible, but I think it is easier today than it used to be, because if you think of somebody like Lucy Lawless, I mean, basically there's one show, okay, she did do Galactica, but she's Cena, period.
Yeah.
Kevin Sorbo, not he's Hercules, and he's in Andromeda Ascended, so he's done a little bit. But today it should be easier for them today to get out of this bubble of being a one character person.
Yeah, I mean, look at Robert Pattinson. He tried his best to steer clear from the whole Twilight thing and tried, doing Batman. But
Ryan's favorite movie.
Yeah, Ryan's favorite. He gave it an 8 out of 10. Racist bastard.
Yeah, I watched the Batman recently, and I gotta be honest, I thought it sucked.
I think if they had cut it off early, like after the first climax, then they could have saved a lot of.
The ending is a little whack, but I still think that the first, I would say, 20 minutes of that movie or whatever is like some of the best Batman shit I've ever fucking seen.
Dude, that music when he's doing his initial like monologue about hunting them down in the shadows and everything, like that was an awesome opening and everything for it.
Yeah, it was great.
The fact, I like that you actually got to see real like detective work, like actual real detective stuff from him. I liked this idea of a Batman who's so early on in the process that he is way more obsessed with being Batman than he is with Bruce Wayne, where Batman has become his identity and he doesn't even know how to be Bruce Wayne anymore. And like he struggles with it
I got all these right
before
here.
he's understood that he like needs more balance. There was so much that I really liked about the movie. The ending is whack though.
And I remember people coming out and saying, "Oh,
I'm reading all these right here, so I'm good." I read all these.
Nice.
These are all 90s Detective Comics and Batman. That's all I'm collecting right now.
Yeah, I have like a box and a half of Batman titles, but I remember people coming out and saying, "Oh,
This is
that's
pretty
not
good,
the
too.
Riddler." All American
Pretty
what?
good, too.
Nice.
This is Dean Cain, All American Lawman. Yeah.
Okay.
Dean Cain.
is that the Dean Cain?
and all
Yeah.
them.
What were you
Yeah,
saying?
I remember
this
people
is
saying it
actually
wasn't the
pretty good.
Riddler, but I'm sure Justin can agree with me that some of the depictions of the Riddler, going back to the 70s, 80s, he was a murderer. So, he probably wasn't doing what he did in the film, but comic fans got to know this, and a lot of normies don't, that comics have always been open to interpretation, right? Unlike universes like Star Wars. But that's, in my mind, a legitimate depiction of the Riddler in that film. And I haven't seen the film yet. At some point, I probably will because I'm a big Batman fan. But, the duct tape and all that different kind of stuff. But Riddler did kill people in the comics.
Well, the last act, though, they make him a podcasting incel.
Yeah,
like,
the last act where they
incel.
basically reveal him as like a screeching autist. That sequence where he's like screaming in the room, I hated that portrayal.
Oh, it was bad.
That's
I think in retrospect, like I was talking to Fractured Filter about it, but I think the actual movie actually gets progressively worse as the movie continues, because then you get the weird depiction of Alfred and the freaking emo like I don't know. But like
who played Alfred?
No,
Justin?
Alfred's
Who played
fine.
Alfred?
Alfred's fine. There's not enough of him.
Oh,
like
really?
that's the problem. There's not enough Alfred in the movie.
Was that the one with the black Alfred?
No, it was Andy Serkis.
That was Andy
Okay.
Serkis.
Okay.
It was Jim Gordon who was black.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
He was
That's
good
why
too.
Brian gave it an 8 out of 10.
He's a good actor. He's great in Westworld, but I don't know.
Jeffrey Wright.
Typical Hollywood,
Jeffrey Wright.
though, people
Okay.
liked Colin Farrell's depiction. So they're like, let's make a show off of it. So that's typical Hollywood.
I did love the car chase where he chases down Penguin. Like
Yeah,
that was
that
another
was
part
pretty
where the
good.
music was standing out to me too. That was a fucking rockin' score whenever he's blowing through trucks and shit. Although Batman does seem to kill a lot of people, I think, in that car chase.
I felt like Gotham wasn't done right again. Like they tried to go with this dark, but it was still too modern. Like I would have liked more gothic Gotham, like Tim Burton style. But it didn't have to be exactly like Tim Burton. But they could have
And not just the city of Chicago, Justin. I mean, right?
That's the best Gotham we've seen in the 2000s era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Like,
animated
that's
series
better
has a
than-
great Gotham look where
Exactly.
it's got those
The
cool
30s
buildings.
The 30s Art Deco style Gotham with a Batman more focused on being the detective. I would love a show like that.
Yeah, well,
Man,
we could have one in Batman Cape for Skater, but that's not going anywhere. That's probably not going to last a season.
So
Hey,
disappointing.
I want a live action TV show with a detective Batman in a 30s style Art Deco Gotham. That's what I want. Like the animated show from the 90s.
That makes too much sense, Jay. What we really need is a TV show about Batman's underlings.
The
What
bad
we really
writing.
need is a spinoff about the female Barack Obama mayor from the Batman.
I mean, Jensen Ackles as Red Hood. Let's go.
Well, there's so much of like, I think what a lot of bad writers use as a crutch is you always have to be at the beginning of something or at the end of something. So it's like you can't just show Batman in his prime doing something. It's always got to be like, it's year one, or they're breaking up and he's at the end of his rope. It's like kind of just it's a little bit easier, I think, to make drama in the beginning and end stories. Doing the middle where you have to really like dig into characters and stuff or make it interesting without something beginning or ending. It seems to be tougher for them.
That's
And we don't need another origin story. We know how it happened.
That's a big reason why I love the Batman Arkham games, because that's Batman in his prime, where Barbara Gordon has already become the Oracle, and we're already at Tim Drake Robin, and we're just dropped into the world. Batman has just captured the Joker and taken him into Arkham Asylum, and we go from there. There's no, I mean, yeah, there is a flashback that shows his parents getting killed, but that's part of like a Scarecrow hallucination. It's not like, need to remind you just in case you don't know.
And even Arkham Origins was awesome, even though that was like the introduction of Joker in that timeline. It was still like he was a couple years in, so it wasn't like doing the Batman origin. It was like it was actually a lot like the most recent Batman movie, in that him and Alfred were sort of at odds. He was saying he was too much Batman. He needs to learn to rely on allies and stuff, was like a big theme of the game. And what's his face? Troy Baker did a great job replacing Hamill as the Joker. I think it was him.
Yeah, it was Troy Baker as the Joker and Roger Craig Smith as Batman. And Arkham Origins has the best Bane ever.
Oh yeah,
Bane is awesome in that game.
He was a lot more like the comics, where he was smart and like and kind of set it up. Because in the regular Arkham games and the ones made by Rocksteady, he's kind of one of the weak points of it, writing wise.
He's just a meathead.
He's a big brute that like screams all the time. And in that game, they did the comic version. Yeah,
and he's not like in Dark Knight Rises, where he goes, "You think darkness you shot out eye?"
Yeah, I think like he sends you on that side quest where you have to destroy all the venom canisters or whatever.
Yeah, that's like, Arkham City.
Yeah, I got really fucking sick of doing that shit. Just to go back to him in the little basement to talk to him again. But
I also love Arkham Origins just because it's a Christmas game, and there's very few games set around Christmas to give you an excuse to replay in December.
You just couldn't wait till New Year's, huh?
Arkham Knight could have been a lot better if they would take out the damn Batmobile missions.
There were too many Batmobile missions in that.
I mean, I've actually seen YouTubers when they edit out the Batman mission, the Batmobile missions. This is a hell of a lot better.
The game's a half hour long.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still good, though.
You do away with the entire Riddler side quest.
Like they're fine, and it just needed to be like a third of what they were. You know, the same. Hey, go there, stay in this place, defeat all the tanks, use your whatever that jerk was, just dodge or whatever the move was to get out of the way and hit these guys. It just got fucking old after a while.
Yeah,
I was pissed whenever they bait and switch Deathstroke in that, because Deathstroke is one of the coolest boss fights in Arkham Origins. And I was like, this is next gen. We got the main team doing it this time. They're going to make a super badass Deathstroke fight. And then he's in a fucking tank and you one punch him. I was like, what?
Oh my God, that's so stupid.
We got a chat from KeyJX for 5 on Black Myth Wukong. Everyone says it's Souls-like. To me, it's more Neo-like to me. I've heard that a lot. I feel like Souls-like is just going to be a descriptor for any game at this point where you have stamina, you have dodge, you have light attacks, heavy attacks, and you have boss fights where you do have to rely heavily on the timing and rolling out of the way and that type of strategy. You're going to hear Souls-like for the vast majority of those type of games.
Basically any third-person action game, it seems like.
Depending.
At this point, it's got tags on Steam.
What's that, Reefer?
Stop playing it. Oh, sorry.
They said Souls-like is its own genre at this point. It's got its own tag on Steam.
Yeah. Biggles, you actually want, and Tim, I know you got to bounce as well. We're about to go back to some Black Myth. Got to get out of here.
Yeah, I got to get out of here, guys. I don't know anything about that game, but it's been fun talking about Acolyte. Support all these guys, and I got to say this every time, Ryan. You know, when you get the subs that you get and you continue to do this stream, I think it's awesome because, let's be honest, you don't have to do it. So all I can say is thank you for doing it, and I'll see you guys next month.
Well, I appreciate it, man. So thank you very much. Make sure to sub to Tim. Biggles going to be dropping his link down in the description there. So have a good
Later,
one, man.
guys. See ya.
Tim.
Bye, Tim.
There we go.
So actually,
hang on, Biggles. Can I say one thing about the Acolyte since I kind of missed it?
Sure.
Well, okay, you know how everybody was complaining about them renewing the Acolyte, right? Now, I heard. Now they said they were going to continue the story in novels and comic books, right?
They announced a couple novels before they even canceled it. Actually,
Yeah,
they had a Jordan.
They're complaining about they want to continue the story. Well, there's the rest of your story right there. It's going to the books and all that. But then I remember it's like, wait a minute, they don't like to read.
I was just about to say that.
No one reads the High Republic bullshit as it is. And the novels, the things that have been announced, it is not continuing the story of the Acolyte, just for the record. I've seen a lot of people talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe they announced some prequel shit for like Yord and Jeki backstories, but I don't know about anything after that. I don't think that's something that's been announced.
Well, no, he's going to come back with his head kind of turned around, and she's going to come back with a bunch of little patches. She'll have like 3 Band-Aids on and be like, oh, I'm fine.
The whole punch didn't work.
Oh yeah, I hope they make that in a comic book so we can look at the pictures. That's all they're gonna do. They're gonna read the story. They're gonna look at the pictures.
Yeah, exactly. Because most people who actually like the Acolyte, when it comes to reading, they're like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast. How can you read this? There's no pictures.
Hey,
that's me.
I read. I mean, I watch Batman, the animated series, the movies, and all that stuff. But guess what? I wanted more Batman stories. So what I do? I picked up the comic books.
That's what you got to do. That's what people did with Star Wars too. But the High Republic's never had set like I think Ryan, you mentioned in your video, because I like dove like deep into all the numbers with New York Times bestsellers and all that. And like the first book, I think it made the top 15 for like 4 weeks, but they weren't even consistent 4 weeks. And then there's like 3 or 4 other books throughout the whole lifetime of the series that made it like once. Like we're talking like 13th, 12th, whatever. In retrospect, the EU, you had stuff like Heir to the Empire stayed on the New York Times bestsellers list for almost 6 months. Same thing with Dark Force Rising, Shadows of the Empire, like all different kinds of EU books. Like they dwarf the amount of book sales that all of the Lucasfilm from Disney.
And the sales now to crack into the top 20 of the New York Times is significantly different than it was like in the 90s, where people were actually reading on a
Yeah, exactly. And I even looked at the Kindle stuff and the Amazon, the way they do that. Like I broke it all. Yeah. And I even compared it to like some of the last EU books like Lockdown and Kenobi. And they were still selling as much, like even though they're like not even in circulation, online as some of the High Republic shit. It's ridiculous.
But Biggles, you often don't get to say a whole ton on these streams because sometimes you don't really give a shit about the Acolyte or something like that.
That's a good thing.
But I heard you were excited to talk about Black Myth Wukong, so I want to let you talk about it a little bit.
So that was actually me trolling.
Oh God!
I've only seen about 2 hours of Beardo playing it, and I was making fun of Beardo, and I got Beardo to say that it was actually based off Goku, and that was basically all I had.
I'm not sure what's newer, this or possibly Dragon Ball could be the older story. I don't know, but
yeah, man, I think Dragon Ball came out before Journey to the West.
Oh, I've read that. I've read Journey to the West. It's actually a really good book.
Yeah, so I was trying to I thought you actually wanted to fucking talk about it, you cocksucker. But
no, I haven't played it yet.
This is a game made by a Chinese developer based off a Chinese novel called Journey to the West, which was published sometime in the 1500s, I think. And this is a game that some journalists here have been critical of because there's not enough diversity. Not enough diversity in a game where you play as a fucking monkey, you fight a bunch of other animals and weird creatures and shit like that. That's based on a Chinese book from the 1500s. I cannot imagine a more retarded complaint about that specific game.
Just for trolling, the Chinese should have made the main character black. just to see the reaction. Hey, you wanted diversity? Here you go.
Imagine if all the monkeys like spoke in Ebonics or something like that. Like, can you imagine how fucking they're like, hey, we heard you guys wanted representation.
Ryan, I put that in some.
Asgard is his hood. From as you can see, he's just that good. North, south, east, and west. The Rainbow Bridge takes him to his quest.
Miles Morales Thor.
Yeah, Miles Morales Thor.
That's what they do. They take a black person, they put him in something, they give it hip hop music, just like Yasuke. Like the fucking stereotypes are insane with a lot of that shit.
My question is though, how long did they play the game, or did they play the game at all?
They didn't play. They didn't play.
My favorite part of that about that.
There are some female characters that show up a little bit later in the game. I've played about 4 hours so far. I've not had a lot of time to play. I've played it about 4 hours. But there are, a decent amount of female characters that show up later. People were complaining about it. No female characters. I imagine some of those reviewers probably, maybe they weren't allowed. Maybe they were only given, some of them weren't allowed to play. Maybe they didn't have time. I don't fucking know. But there's a good chance some of them did not actually play it enough to get up to those points because they were complaining about no female characters.
Does the game have an easy mode?
No white characters in there either.
Does the game have an easy mode?
I don't remember selecting a difficulty at all.
It doesn't have any difficulties. I was actually looking at. I'm not going to buy it until it comes out on physical, which I think they announced that it would later. But yeah, no difficulties. But apparently, if you spend a lot of time going around and collecting shit, you can kind of make it easier for yourself. And apparently, it's not as hard as like any of the FromSoft kind of games.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's to that level of difficulty. I wouldn't. So, when you look at something like Jedi Survivor, which is, hey, look, it's the same type of thing. Hey, you have your little campfire where if you rest, everyone's going to respawn, but you can return your health. Like, it's that same type of it's that same type of game. But I would say that the difficulty level for Black Myth Wukong is in between something like a Jedi Survivor and a Dark Souls game. So, I've never played Neo, so I can't speak to the level of difficulty of Neo at all. Are you even going to pirate it, Reefer? Or you just hate the Chinese communists that much? You're not even going to pirate their game?
Oh no, I'll take it. They take all my shit. Yoink.
Yeah, and it just is. To me, it's interesting to see a lot of the games journalists freak out about it and then a Chinese company that, quite frankly, does not give a fuck about like inserting diversity in their game or anything like that. And they are not even they're not even going to like take the bait to talk about some made up misogynist sexism claims by the developer and they're just saying, hey, we're just here to talk about the game. We just want to talk about the game. So it's been really funny to see Western journalists in the Western game developing, industry go up against Eastern developers. And we kind of saw this with Stellar Blade shit as well. Different countries, obviously, but both based in Asia.
They, the gaming journalists have been taking L after L these last couple, between Hogwarts being the highest selling game last year, Stellar Blade doing, I think, far better than anybody expected, not even just on PlayStation. First Ascendant has been a big free-to-play game this year, and now Black Myth like broke all these records for Steam for single player. It's like, and then meanwhile you have like Suicide Squad. What was the other one? The Dustborn? Or,
how is that doing?
Yeah.
So how is that game doing?
Dustborn has under 100 players.
Last I looked, it
I like those numbers.
Under 50.
You can't. Now, it is really embarrassing and cringe. However, we can't compare that game to Suicide Squad or any of these stuff because that's like such a small budget. Game. However, it does take more than 70 people buying your game to make it a fucking success, even if you're like kind of a small little developer with a game. So it's an embarrassing failure. And
Or
they did that to
Concord.
themselves. Concord, now the fact that they've got a relatively low player count right at the release, that could, because that a lot of money went into that from what I understand.
Well,
So that is
PlayStation literally
embarrassing.
just bought that studio because they apparently saw this game and thought that it was a good idea. They didn't just buy it, but they bought it like last year or two or something. And it's apparently been in development for like basically since Overwatch got really popular, and they said, "Oh, let's copy that," and then shove all this crap into it. And again, I think it's more of a symptom is the low quality and unappealingness of it, but the root cause may very well be what they were going for. But yeah, it's like 1,000 or something concurrent was like its peak, and not looking good.
I've seen Concord sitting mostly around like 500 or 600, and this is like its first weekend of release.
I just looked right now. It's at 413.
That's fucking unfortunate.
That's
413,000. That's pretty good.
Wow.
413 players.
I just imagine that's how the meeting at PlayStation went. They like go up to Herman Holtz, the new like CEO. He's like, 413, das ist gut. And then it's like, no, sir, it's not in thousands.
Imagine being a game developer or a game master sitting there and thinking, what am I doing here?
You're like going in individually, like, how you liking the game? You already asked me. Oh, sorry, there's not very many people to ask.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But I thought you actually did want to talk about it, Biggles, you fuck. So
No, I just
Biggles is a
like
troll.
I'm waiting for it to go on sale to try it out. I've been playing Kingdom Hearts, and Chunk has been yelling at me whenever I play any other game. So
Oh, God.
Biggles twitted your tipples with that one.
I've been just trying to. I've just been trying to play Kingdom Hearts, but I do
heaven forbid
want
you have a gaming channel and actually play a game that's currently out and super popular right now.
I know, right? But
Hey, he could play Fortnite all the time.
yeah, like Jeremy. Game sucks. But no, I trolled Beardo into like convincing him that it came out or it was based off Dragon Ball. He's like, yeah, I can really see that because it's very Dragon Ball-esque. Like this guy even looks like Master Roshi, and like this guy reminds me of Goku.
Do they have the Fire Mountain in it?
I don't know. I don't know what part he was at. He was like in a jungle fighting some people. So
Journey to the West is it actually based on the Indian version of Hanuman, something like that? The Monkey King?
Yeah, it's based off Son Goku, which is in Chinese mythology.
Yeah.
Hey, Biggles, I got a question for you.
What's up?
Who wins in a fight between Goku and Superman?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Batman.
It depends. It depends on which Superman era and which Goku era, and it all depends on all the factors. Because if it's like an early version of Goku's getting crushed.
Wow.
And if it's like the version where Superman can be weakened, like Goku's smart enough, like everybody says he's fucking stupid, but Goku's smart enough to pick up kryptonite and then fucking Superman's dead. He's not standing a chance.
He
Paul,
just finds it.
Just give Batman some prep time. He'll beat both of them.
Like,
Yeah.
well, both Superman and Goku can destroy a planet whenever they want.
Goku
So-
would not be interested in fighting Batman because he only cares about fighting strong people. He would just be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I don't really feel like it." Like
Not
even whenever they're
fighting you, little
threatening,
policeman.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Even
didn't
when
watch
they're-
Dragon Ball, so I have no opinion.
Well, even when they're threatening the Earth, Ryan, like this is the cause of 90% of their conflicts is that Goku could end it quickly, but like literally they're warned about this one enemy. They're like, "Oh, in 3 years this enemy's going to emerge." And their one friend is like, "Oh, well we'll just find the Dragon Balls. They grant any wish. We can just ask them where they are right now so we can hit them before they get powerful." And Goku goes, no, I want them to get strong. I'm going to fight them in 3 years when they actually come and they're strong. Like he
he's like,
literally
I'm
makes
going
the
to
whole
fight them.
he literally makes the whole thing happen 90% of the time just because he wants to fight strong people.
Yeah.
Also, something I just realized is if you go back and for some reason decide to watch Batman versus Superman, the way in which they explain Doomsday's origins reminded me of something because Lex Luthor combines his DNA with Zod's to create a monster. Now, where have I seen that before? That's Nuclear Man from Superman 4.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder ripped off the crust for peace.
We do not talk about that movie.
If only it had Jesse Eisenberg's voice, like in Superman 4 when he had Gene Hackman's voice. He'd be like the Doomsday monster, but he'd be like, I'm going to kill you, Superman. I'm going to crush you now with my big spikes. Whoa!
And the ship says like genetic manipulation is forbidden by Kryptonians. And Lex Luthor says, well, they're all dead, so it doesn't really matter.
Because that's how laws work.
That's how it works.
If the president dies, then I get to do whatever I want.
Another super chat from Aki for £10. Story appears weak for Westerners because of unfamiliarity to the source material, but the Chinese-speaking audiences doesn't even need dialogue to get point, e.g., chapter animations. Yeah, I would not call this thing some kind of masterpiece or anything like that from my experience in it so far. It plays solid graphically. I think it looks really good and it feels and plays really well. The story seems okay to me so far. Nothing that like is mind blowing or blows me away, but it's not like I'm having fun with it. You know, it's good. It's a good game. It's especially crazy because Game Science has never done a game like that. They're like a mobile game company.
That was the same thing with Stellar Blade. Their developer was all mobile stuff before that, and they actually said they were excited to make a game with like an ending, that they could actually have a story to. So
the dev for Stellar Blade makes one of the biggest gacha games on the planet.
Nikkei.
Yes.
I don't know how to say it.
Goddess of Victory. Yeah, it's a bunch of big boob anime women where you shoot a bunch of shit on screen.
It's just Jizzle fixing.
What?
Jiggle fix.
That kind of game.
No, I heard
Jizzo
someone say I heard someone say
It's
that
very
before.
important to keep
I think it
jizzing
was
in mind. You
sleazy.
got to know where you're going to blow that load, how far it's going to go. Is it going to get in the
Exactly.
hair? You got to know.
Not
Jizz it.
come.
Yeah.
I heard Jizzo Fett, and I'm picturing the porn member of the Fett family
Oh, geez.
getting with a Twillick.
Yeah.
What were you saying though, Biggles?
Yeah, it's just mostly jiggle physics in that game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because every game needs jiggle physics.
Yeah, but one of the main reasons why I didn't get this game is there's already 2 Dragon Ball games coming out, and I don't need a third one.
Oh yeah, the
There you
Budokai Tenkaichi, or no, it's Sparking Zero, but it's like
Sparking
in the
Zero,
spirit
yeah.
of Budokai Tenkaichi.
Yeah, it's the 4th one. I got to play the demo earlier this month, and they just came out with they sped up the gameplay, so it's even better than the demo I just played, like less than a month ago. So I can't wait. I've already ordered.
Ryan, I think you would legitimately like a lot of the humor in not DBZ, but in the original Dragon Ball, where Goku is a kid, because he's like raised in the mountains, so he has no social like conditioning or anything. Like this one chick, she wants
Fish out of water shit.
Yeah, so like one of the funniest things just from like the very first episode is this woman is like, "Oh, give me this valuable possession that you have. I'll let you have a little peek." And she's like lifting up her skirt, and he goes, "Why do I want to see your dirty old fanny?" He just like shuts her down.
Yep.
And then there's another part where he's like,
Wait a minute. Is that what he said in the dub or in the sub?
In the dub, he said.
the dub.
Oh, the sub is much worse. Like, there's one character that's very obviously gay, and the same woman tries to hit on him. It's like a villain character. And he goes, "Ew, get away from me." And she's like, "Hey, he's gay." And then one of the other characters goes, "The whole army is gay."
Yeah.
No subtlety whatsoever.
That's so good.
We do have we've been going an hour and a half. We're about to wrap it up. However, we did just have somebody pop in. Graph Tanker 98. What's up, man? How's it going?
What's up? I always come in late to these things.
Always late
Yeah,
in the game, huh?
sorry about that. Yeah, I was literally about to say we've been going about 90 minutes. We're gonna wrap it up, but I don't know if you had a chance to watch or anything. You got any thoughts about the Acolyte or Black Myth Wukong?
Well, Acolyte's pretty much that speaks for itself. It sucks, but the the Wukong thing, I've been watching some clips on it, and it looks cool. Graphics look good, but it isn't really. I'm more of an RPG kind of guy, so I like the action, but that's why I kind of preferred Stellar Blade. It has more of a. It seems like it has a lot more stuff you can upgrade on the character, and I don't know, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it. But
it's nice to look at a character like that than a monkey as well. So yeah.
Yeah, but all my focus is on that Dune game coming out. So I've been doing videos on my other channel.
Got Outlaws coming out, dude.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Are you excited for Star Wars Assassin's Creed? Anybody?
I don't
Oh
even.
yeah, I can't wait for a girl to hit a freaking stormtrooper back of the head with her hand and I break it.
Just like Kenobi.
What really
Yeah,
kills a
man.
game like that when they try to be like a space sim almost is when you can't fly seamlessly up in and out of the atmosphere and around the whole planet. That's pretty much you're gonna fail, like Starfield.
That's impossible. It's not like No Man's Sky, an indie game, managed to do it.
Yeah, I mean, even though Star Citizen is like basically not even a full game, but they can do it too, and it's just like, and that's like a really janky alpha build. So yeah, Space Sims is like one of my big things, and like I was an alpha tester on Elite Dangerous and all that, and that freaking, I played that for years until it kind of ran its course. But yeah, if you can't fly seamlessly through the atmosphere in and out of space, it's pretty much going to be a flop to me.
Hey, Graph Tanker, did you ever see some of the test footage that Free Radical had for their planned Battlefront 3 game for Star Wars?
No, I haven't seen any of that.
Because originally they were going to have a system where you can fly from the ground to space and space to the ground, where what you did on the ground battle would affect the space battle, but unfortunately it just never came to be. The closest we ever got to it was a PSP game called Elite Squadron, but in order to transition from ground to space, you had to press a button and it would trigger a cutscene. So based on what you're saying, that seems like what Battlefront 3 was originally going to do, but just we never got to saw it.
Yeah, I don't know that this Star Wars game. You could see the footage. It's just it just doesn't look very good.
Yeah, the graphics look terrible.
And the character, they picked a random character that nobody even cares about, a made-up character.
And that's the actress.
They would have been much better off and more well-served, I think, if they made this a custom create your own character going through this thing instead of you are locked in as her.
Either that, create your own character, like Ryan's saying, or a known a Lando game or something. I don't know. I'm saying throwing an idea.
I'm okay with them not doing it that. I think they would have probably served themselves better if you're just a bounty hunter. And you can be a dude, you can be a girl, you can fucking customize your shit, you can customize your look, all that stuff. I think it probably would have played much better for them, and I think you would have a lot more people interested in playing that game so they could play as whoever they wanted, as opposed to being locked into Cave Bess as a character.
At the very least,
see themselves literally.
But at the very least, would have been nice if they not uglied her up. I don't know if that's the real model they use, but it looks nothing like the model.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't it like the real lady? She's gorgeous, and then the game
even gave her a witch nose, fucked her teeth up. They did all kinds of.
She looks like Vespa from Spaceballs before she got the nose job.
Well, this is a tie-in origin story, actually. Surprise.
Where'd you get that?
Is that just some fake rumor they're making Spaceballs too?
I think it's a real thing that they're looking at doing it.
It's gonna be horrible. History of the World Part 2 was a piece of junk.
Yeah, missed opportunity. They should have made it after Force Awakens.
Listen, they've got a lot of content to parody. But I have no.
Well, the stupid part is when they did History of the World Part 2.
Yeah, gonna bring all the characters back, especially one of them. A handful of them are dead.
I don't think Josh Gad is funny.
And if they try to parody Disney Star Wars, I doubt they can get any better than the South Park episode.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. There is a lot of content they've made. But like I said, guys, we've been going an hour and a half. We're gonna call it, but not before I let everybody have an opportunity to shout out their channel or what they're working on, and get that in chat. I appreciate these guys coming on with me and hanging out for a while, and I appreciate their support. So please, if you're watching, consider supporting these guys too. We'll start off with Gabriel Knight. What are you up to, man?
I don't got anything to plug other than if you live in one of the battleground states, encourage you to get a friend or relative out to vote, especially if they're conservative or libertarian. But other than that,
if you got a bunch of Democrat friends, don't get them out to vote.
No. But like, especially if you live in Pennsylvania, get somebody out. If not, I donated to Scott Pressler's Get Out the Vote group there in Pennsylvania. So other than that, I just came on to hang out and shoot the shit.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Mr. J, I imagine you don't got much to plug either.
Nah, nothing to plug. Gonna go back to playing World of Warcraft for a couple of hours, and as Gabriel said, go vote. Remember, it is a privilege that billions of people on this planet do not have.
That's right.
Go vote.
And hopefully someday in the future, women won't either. John Getz, what do you got, man?
Well, I'm going to try to overcome the stinking PS2 NPC AI programming of Star Wars Jedi Starfighter and get over my rage that I had last night whenever I quit it and actually finish that game up tonight. And then I got a couple other classic Star Wars games. I'm trying to run through kind of a gambit, including the Lego ones, before we get to Outlaws, which, God help me, I'm going to play. I'm getting physical so I can resell it after I'm done with it and not give them too much money, but good luck. It's going to be like Last of Us. What happened with Last of Us 2 is I sold it like as soon as I got the platinum trophy, which was probably about a week and a half after I got it. I bought the Steelbook version. I got $40 for it on eBay. I was like, fuck, it went down so fast. And the same thing is going to happen here, but I'll get something back.
Well, I'm sure season 2 of the show will be much better.
God.
Grandmaster Chris, what do you got going on, man?
I've got nothing much. I'm mostly just like setting up my new place because I moved into a new apartment. But I am planning on making a video about the current state of Star Wars. I've already got a script ready. I'm about to start editing. But aside from that, not much else. I'm just here to chat and talk about the state of affairs in entertainment with some really cool people.
There you go. Thanks for coming. Hope you get the place set up nice.
Yeah, and before we move on, I Purist, is Purist there?
He's muted, but
yeah, I'm here.
I was just mentioning you were saying in the private chat you wanted to do a Batman stream.
Well, Tim had mentioned it, yeah. So I'm not sure. We'll probably set it up on his channel. I mean, I don't know. We could set up on my channel too, but I usually just focus on Star Wars and Marvel. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind. But yeah,
well, I asked because if it ever comes to fruition, you mind if I hop on?
Yeah, for sure, dude. I think you're I have you on X, and I think you're a member on my channel too, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so I can hit you up one way or another.
Cool.
I could be dropping a Discord on Monday, so tomorrow.
Mess with your discourse. Don't mess with your discourse.
Thought you were gonna say diss track for a second.
Yeah. I have another one of those too.
Biggles, what do you got coming up?
So I just dropped a character breakdown on Rudius Grey Rat from Jobless Reincarnation. And I put that out on my YouTube channel. I'm trying to hit 500 before I lose all my watch hours to get monetized because it only is in a year. So I gotta get it soon because I got all my watch hours basically this year. So I'm trying to get 500. And if I somehow do it before the new Dragon Ball game comes out, I'm doing a 24-hour stream. So if you want, go ahead and follow me there in the chat, youtube.com/BigglesMets. So I'm just trying to get there. We're trying to push it. I've been doing more and more videos, trying to get these just to get to 500 because I'm so close on watch hours. And if I don't get it this year, I'm going to have to regain all those watch hours. So if you can help me, that would be much appreciated.
There you go. Check out Biggles. Sir Reefer, got anything to plug?
Nope. It's in the name.
There you go. Star Wars Marvel purist.
We got all kinds of stuff going on. We just got partially monetized about 2 weeks ago. I already got 52 members because everybody that does follow me has been following me very closely, and I got very generous, people helping me out. So yeah, we're having lots of fun. We just all picked emojis out for our first member stream, stuff like that. We're gonna have a Discord dropping tomorrow. We're finishing up on the SOTOR stuff, like I talked about. X-Men Fatal Attractions, Rise of the Midnight Suns. I try to cover all the cool, badass original shit because everybody's so like turned off by Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel. We want to try to preserve the good stories that were there. So yeah, then we're going to be getting into Silver Surfer, the Republic comics, specifically like the Asajj Ventress ones and stuff like that, because I try to preempt and compare shit. Obviously Dave Filoni's bastardization with TCW, so we're going to be looking at some real Asajj Ventress and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm at 3,800 watch hours in less than 10 months. I just don't have the subs. So yeah, the more subs I can get fully monetized, then we can just like rock and roll, and I appreciate you having me on, helping me promote the channel and whatnot. It's always fun hanging out with you guys.
Hell yeah, man. Go check out Star Wars Marvel Purist as Biggle keeps dropping those links. Subhuman, got anything coming up?
No, I'm just gonna sit back in my truck and read comic books.
Well, that sounds pretty fun to me, honestly.
I got plenty of them. I got Batman, I got Robin, I got Nightwing, all written by Chuck Dixon. I think I got some G.I. Joes in there too. So
very cool, man. Hell yeah. Thanks for stopping in. And last but not least, unfortunately got here a little late, but Graph Tanker, what do you got coming up?
Yeah, it's got been working on my Dune channel, Arrakis Central. I'm approaching 50K subs. I hit that first tier monetization. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm like, I got to click membership things and create. I have no clue. So I'm just kind of like trying to figure it all out, cleaning up the channel as I go. I dropped the latest. I only started that thing in November. So I don't know what's going on. People it's all just Dune. So it's all Dune content, merchandise, movies, games. I did a lot of lore videos on there. The latest video I have is gameplay footage from Funcom on Dune Awakening. They dropped at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany last week. And they sent me, I'm actually on their little like creator program since I had 5,000 subs. And I was way past that. So now, but that's pretty cool. But the game I've had my issues with some of the gameplay footage. Like the sandworm doesn't look the same as the latest movies. And then some other things like the melee combat looked a little janky and some of the animations. But other than that, it's going to be a big MMO, style game. So we'll see how that works out.
I'm looking forward to the game and seeing how everyone's feedback is once it actually does come out. Because if it's good and solid and people like it, I might end up spending some time in it. So
they did their time frame for release early 2025. So we're going to get it sometime. I don't know, that first quarter.
March, something like that.
Yeah, so they said that's for PC only, and then later on they're going to have their console. I guess later they didn't say, but it's in closed beta. So if you do get in there, it's NDA right now. They don't have an open beta yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, very cool, man. Go check it out, Arrakis Central. As always, thank you guys for showing up over here. I appreciate it. I am going to be live in about an hour and a half or 2 hours. I guess we'll see over on my main channel. Appreciate everybody here. Thanks for making this a fun stream. We'll talk to you next week. And that is going to be not next week, next month, the 29th of September. I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 weeks from now. 29th of September, the last Sunday of September, will be the next time we get together here. Y'all are awesome. Thanks for hanging out. And we will talk to you next time. Peace.
Peace.
Later.
Bye.